Not too long ago, we looked at the 2003 Kevin Nash vs Triple H rivalry that took place during the WWE's Ruthless Aggression era. The 2003 feud culminated in a Hell in a Cell match, and overall, Triple H won the rivalry. Big Kev would compete in the 2003 Elimination Chamber match held at SummerSlam, and then he would disappear to undergo neck surgery. The following year, Kevin would debut in TNA while Triple H continued to dominate the WWE. Today, we jump forward to 2011. The WWE was a completely different place when Kevin Nash made his return to the company. Kevin was a different man, Triple H was a very different man in terms of his on-screen character, and the two old buddies would once again square off at a WWE pay-per-view event, and their storyline this time around wasn't so straightforward. In order to look at Nash vs Triple H from 2011, we also need to look at CM Punk vs Triple H from 2011, and before we look at the Sledgehammer match, we need to see what happened between the Game, the Best in the World, and Big Sexy. So let's jump in and see how this storyline went down on WWE television. Just a heads up, this is a very story-driven video and there's not a whole lot of in-ring action in this one. This whole thing was carried by a lot of promos and a lot of interviews. Also, the Sledgehammer ladder match will get covered in a future episode. While Nash plays a big part in today's storyline, I'll be stopping the video after the Punk vs Triple H match at Night of Champions 2011. One of my favourite things about the Royal Rumble is seeing the surprise entrance, and in 2011 the WWE gave us two notable surprises, Booker T and Kevin Nash. Both guys had previously worked in TNA, and rumour has it that Nash actually signed a new TNA contract just before the Rumble took place. When the WWE told Nash that they wanted him back, Kevin managed to talk his way out of his TNA commitments and Dixie Carter granted Big Sexy his release. Nash got an incredible ovation during his Rumble entrance. He came out as Diesel with his blues music and all, and the crowd absolutely loved it. Nash put on his single glove in front of the audience to show that Diesel was back, and a Diesel chant broke out as Kevin went to work inside the Royal Rumble match. Unfortunately, he didn't last long. Wade Barrett took Big Daddy Cool out of the match, but I think the surprise went better than anyone could have hoped. After the Rumble match, Nash took some time away, but he still made appearances. Most notably, he was on hand to celebrate the induction of his friend Shawn Michaels into the WWE Hall of Fame. WWE had a bit of a youth movement going on in 2011, and the most remarkable story of the year centered around CM Punk and the angle surrounding his title shot at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Punk's infamous pipebomb promo garnered a lot of attention, with the Second City Saint completely trashing the WWE while promising to leave the company when his contract expired with the WWE Championship Belt. In storyline, Vince McMahon could not allow someone to win the championship and walk out of the organisation, but that's exactly what happened, and fans just couldn't get enough of the whole angle. CM Punk played it perfectly, and CM Punk became the most talked about guy in all of professional wrestling. Because Punk had left with the championship belt, the WWE Board of Directors relieved Vince McMahon of his duties, so here comes Triple H to take over as the Chief Operating Officer. In storyline, Triple H helped to bring CM Punk back, but this didn't mean Punk and Triple H were friends, far from it actually. Punk was so anti-establishment that anyone with a suit was a common enemy, and things got interesting when Punk would demean Hunter over his new corporate role. Everyone, including CM Punk, knew that Triple H was an ass kicker in the ring and he was that damn good, but when he wore the suit, Triple H would have to play nicely or Triple H ran the risk of suffering the same fate as his father-in-law. Hunter wanted to do what was right for the company and what was best for business. CM Punk's rebellious nature made this a natural feud, although some fans, and indeed CM Punk, felt otherwise. There was a feeling among the online community and CM Punk's most diehard fans that Triple H was shoehorning himself into CM Punk's storylines and putting himself in there when other guys of this youth movement should have been more heavily involved. But either way, a new champion was crowned during CM Punk's absence, and Hunter made the decision to unify both WWE Championships at SummerSlam. Triple H would referee the match between CM Punk and John Cena, and whoever won that match became the undisputed WWE Champ. During the SummerSlam match, Hunter made a bad call. He counted Cena's shoulders to the mat when John had a foot on the bottom rope, but the decision still stood and CM Punk became the WWE Undisputed Champion. Triple H offered Punk a handshake, Punk refused, But Hunter still raised Punk's hand in victory, and we thought the issues had been resolved between the game and the best in the world. Triple H left the ring, CM Punk celebrated, but then Kevin Nash appeared from nowhere and Punk goes down after a clothesline and a jackknife powerbomb. Things would get even worse for Punk. Mr. Money in the Bank Alberto Del Rio then hit the ring and he successfully cashed in his briefcase. CM Punk lost his WWE Championship Belt, and Triple H seemed really confused about what just happened. The next night on Raw, Hunter admitted to making a mistake during the Cena vs Punk bout, but Triple H had nothing to do with what happened after the match. Triple H did leave tickets for Nash at will call for the SummerSlam event, but Hunter did not know that Nash was going to attack CM Punk. Triple H says he texted Nash and he invited him to Raw to explain himself, so Kevin Nash is going to appear a little later on in the show. Kevin comes to the ring and he thanks Hunter for the chance to speak about his actions. Nash repeats that he and Hunter have been friends for years, and Nash confirms that he did ask Triple H for tickets to the SummerSlam event. Nash said he took his seat, and just before the main event he got a text message, and the text message said, "Hey big man, can you do me a favour? No matter what happens in the main event, stick the winner for me." So Nash says it was nothing personal, it was just business. He was doing a favour for a friend, and after Nash felt so good after his 2011 Royal Rumble appearance, the big man had no issues helping a friend out. Nash is implying that Triple H sent the text, and Nash isn't so sure why his buddy's denying all knowledge. CM Punk comes out and Punk says he always had a suspicion that Triple H didn't really know what was best for business, but in saying that, Punk always knew that Kevin Nash never knew what was best for business. Punk says someone's obviously telling lies here, and Punk isn't so sure if it's Kevin or Triple H. Nash says he can show Punk the text message if he wants, and Punk reads Nash a text message that he received from his sister last night. It says, "OMG, Kevin Nash, WTF, thought he was dead, LOL." Punk says it's just Kevin's career that's dead, and it's fairly obvious that this is just a case of Triple H becoming COO and Triple H bringing his friends back to work. And Kevin replies to this by calling out Punk's achievements so far in WWE. He calls Punk an indie-rific wannabe who's been in the company for 5 years and only main evented 2 pay-per-views. He won the WWE belt and he lost it already. And Punk says this is coming from the guy who called Eddie Guerrero a vanilla midget. Punk says Nash knows nothing about main events, it isn't 1994 after all, and that's when Nash goes for the kill. Kevin says the jump ahead to 1996 when he and Scott Hall jumped to WCW for guaranteed money, and it's thanks to guys like Hall and Nash that guys like CM Punk now benefit from guaranteed contracts, so CM Punk should be saying thank you Mr. Nash. Kevin wonders what's going on in the main event scene when a short order fry cook from Waffle House like CM Punk's headlining shows, and Nash tells Punk to take a shower, hit the weights, and get a clue. All Punk can say is, "I like Waffle House." After calling out Nash for his Vinny Vegas and Oz characters, Punk tries to get in the ring but he's stopped by security. We can see Scorpio Sky and LA Knight here as security guards, and Punk says he'll just go back and find Triple H if he can't beat up Nash. Backstage, Johnny Ace wants to have a quiet word with Nash and the two head to Johnny's office, and CM Punk doesn't find Triple H, though he does find Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie says she's sorry about how things went down at SummerSlam, but in the end, people always get what they deserve. CM Punk and John Cena both wanted a shot at the WWE title, and seeing as technically both guys were champion, then both guys were entitled to a rematch. Triple H booked a Cena vs Punk main event for Raw, and the winner would go on to Night of Champions to face Alberto Del Rio. A little later on, Triple H called Kevin Nash out to the ring. Hunter said he spoke to Nash and everything's been sorted out, but Kevin needs to come out and explain things to the fans. Nash comes out and Triple H explains that Kevin did indeed receive a text message, but it wasn't from Hunter. Hunter wants Nash to be transparent with everyone, and he wants everyone to be on the same page so things can move forward. And Nash decides that he's not going to play ball. Kevin says he thought he got the text from Hunter. He apologizes for getting that part wrong. But after what Punk said to him last week, Kevin is not going to apologize to CM Punk. Nash appreciates Hunter's position, but Triple H can't ask Kevin not to be a man. And Hunter says Kevin can't do this because Kevin doesn't work for WWE. Nash says that's perfect, he doesn't work for WWE and that means he doesn't have to get CM Punk over or take any of his crop either. And Triple H says that's fine, Nash can call Punk out to the Tim Hortons across the street and beat his ass there, but it can't happen in a WWE ring. Hunter asks his friend to leave, and then CM Punk shows up. Punk says we have a mystery on our hands, who sent the text message? Punk says his money's on Stephanie McMahon, but the mystery does need solved tonight. Before that can happen though, Punk wants to fight Big Nash and Triple H stops Punk from attacking his friend. Punk says Triple H never liked him and Punk wonders why Triple H is so afraid of Punk being champion. CM Punk thinks it could be Hunter's quote bean-headed wife calling the shots, and Triple H gets a little angry. The game says he promised the board of directors and the fans that he wouldn't get physical, but CM Punk should make no mistake about it. Hunter's still the same guy he was before, and if Punk crosses a line with Hunter, then Hunter will leave Punk lying where he stands. When Punk pushes it and he says he doesn't want Triple H to take off his suit and place it in his wife's purse along with his cell phone and his balls, Kevin Nash launches an attack. Triple H tells Nash to back off and the Click Buddies leave the ring together, and CM Punk sees this as confirmation that Triple H and Nash are working together. Backstage, Hunter tells Nash he needs to leave and Kevin says that Hunter's changed. And then, a little later on in the show, John Laurinaitis brings some bad news to the COO. Kevin Nash was involved in a car accident. Johnny gives Hunter the hospital details and Triple H leaves Laurinaitis in charge, but of course it was all a setup. During the Cena vs Punk main event, Kevin Nash made an appearance, and his distraction cost CM Punk the title shot at Night of Champions. Hunter comes out the next week and he says it's unfortunate that one of his best friends has been lying to him. Triple H wants Kevin Nash to face him in the ring, but instead Hunter gets CM Punk and Punk applauds his boss. Punk says Hunter's a fine actor, but it's time for Triple H to come clean about the lies. Punk's still convinced that Hunter and Nash are working together, and Nash then comes to the ring and he admits to lying about the car accident. He lied because Hunter wouldn't let him take care of Punk, so Nash did what he had to do. Nash says Punk's insulting both Triple H and Triple H's wife, and Nash wonders what kind of man Triple H is for allowing this to happen. Hunter says he never expected his friend to lie to him. He thought his friend could take it when someone told him the truth. Nash lied to Hunter's face, so Hunter tells Nash to once again leave the arena. Nash says he lied about the car accident, but not about receiving the text message. He also reveals that Johnny Ace signed him to a lucrative contract last week, so Nash isn't going anywhere. The only way Nash is gonna leave is if Hunter fires him, and that means Hunter has to relieve someone from their duties in front of the whole world, while also giving Kevin the opportunity to sit at home and still get paid, seeing as he got himself a guaranteed contract. Hunter tells Kev he's not gonna fire him, but Kevin better not cross the line, and this makes CM Punk throw up. Punk rolls on the mat heaving, and when he gets back up he says he's acting. He's just acting the same way Nash and Hunter are acting right now. Punk doesn't believe any of this. He says the Click's back, and that's very fitting seeing as people click their remote controls to change the channel when Nash is around, and that's when Nash throws out a challenge. Big Sexy versus CM Punk. Kev's under contract, so Hunter has the ability to book this match, and Punk says it should happen at Night of Champions seeing as Nash is a champion ass kisser. Punk then pushes Triple H again by saying we all know who wears the pants when it comes to Hunter and Stephanie, and Punk says that Trips wears his wife's panties. So Hunter books the match and he says he's got 2 words for both of these guys before leaving the ring. A little later on, Nash jackknifed Punk when Punk had to deal with both The Miz and R-Truth, and Nash stood over CM Punk while raising one arm just like his old Big Daddy Cool Diesel character. But then, at the end of Raw, everything changed. Triple H called CM Punk into his office and Hunter told Punk that the Nash match was cancelled and CM Punk was now going to face The Game at the pay-per-view. It was extremely odd for a match to get changed this quickly, but Kevin explained that he didn't get medically cleared to compete. Nash was on Plavix, a blood thinner. He was taking this medication as a preventative measure due to his father dying young of a heart attack, so Nash failed the WWE's physical and the match at Night of Champions was changed. On the following episode of SmackDown, a contract signing was held between Hunter and Punk. Hunter explained that the match was changed due to Punk getting personal. Hunter said he bent over backwards to work with Punk, but Punk pushed and pushed. It was Hunter who got the rights for Living Colour's Cult of Personality. It was Triple H who approved CM Punk's new t-shirt. Triple H even gave Punk a match against Kevin Nash, but CM Punk kept pushing it. Punk disrespected Hunter as a man, and CM Punk has to deal with Hunter as a man. Hunter says he and Punk are a lot alike, but Triple H told everyone he would step on them and walk over everyone to get to the top, whereas CM Punk backdoored everything because he has no balls and he wants to be a martyr. Punk says this match has been a long time coming, and if changing the WWE means going through Hunter, then so be it. Punk tells Hunter not to fine him or suspend him after he gets his ass kicked, and Punk signs the contract. When Hunter says he's going to kick Punk's skinny fat ass, Big Nash shows up. Hunter pulls Punk off Nash. Nash hits Punk with a big boot, and when Triple H shoves Kevin, Kevin shoves Hunter right back. On the September 15th episode of Raw, CM Punk made it clear that he still thinks the Click Buddies are working together. Nash comes out and he says Triple H done CM Punk a huge favour by changing the match because Nash would have killed Punk in the middle of the ring. Punk says Kevin Nash hasn't been relevant for a long time and Nash shouldn't put this all on Triple H. This is between Kevin and Punk. Hunter makes his way down the ramp and Nash tells Hunter that the game now has the stroke to get rid of CM Punk for good. Hunter gets in the ring and Hunter reveals who sent that text message. Triple H got some footage from the Staples Center, and at the exact same time Hunter got the text, Kevin Nash went into the game's office, and get this, Kevin Nash used Triple H's phone to text himself. The guy who sent the text from Triple H's phone to Kevin Nash's phone was Kevin Nash. Fucking brilliant. Nash admits it. He says he did it because he wanted to do what Triple H couldn't and get rid of CM Punk. Nash gives Hunter another chance. He says the WWE isn't big enough for Nash and Punk, so Hunter needs to make a decision. Fire CM Punk or fire his friend. Hunter says he doesn't like CM Punk, but Punk never lied to him. Nash has done nothing but lie since he came back. Nash can't believe that Hunter's about to choose Punk over his friend for 20 years, and Nash thinks it's all because of the shove on SmackDown. Kev begins pushing Hunter around while telling Triple H to do something about it. Hunter ends up flooring Nash with a right hand and he tells Kevin he's fired. The two friends aren't friends anymore, and CM Punk laughs at Kevin Nash as the segment comes to an end. Kevin leaves the arena with Johnny Ace, and a little later on, a few stipulations are added to the Night of Champions match. Triple H wants a no disqualification bout, and CM Punk agrees if Hunter agrees to give up his COO position if CM Punk wins the match. Triple H says no problem. On the final Raw before Night of Champions, Punker and Hunter closed the show with a promo. Punk said he respects Triple H for firing that charisma vacuum Kevin Nash, but Punk doesn't like Triple H. Punk knows that Triple H doesn't like him either, and it annoys Punk that Triple H hasn't changed his mind about him since Punk debuted. Punk says nothing's changed since Triple H became COO. Hunter's just like Vince. Guys like Punk shouldn't get pushed because big bodybuilder guys will certainly get more opportunities when it comes to main event matches, and Hunter names guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio. Guys who no one would consider bodybuilders, yet guys who had great main event careers. And Triple H says Punk's making excuses for his failures. Hunter says it's the fans' opinion that matters. For the past 6 years, Punk didn't get the kind of reactions he gets now, and Punk bitches about it a lot by saying he was held back. CM Punk wants to know where his ice cream bars are if we're listening to the audience today, and Punk doesn't want to hear the brass ring speech because he's heard it all before. Triple H lists off the opportunities Punk's already been afforded. Pay-per-view appearances, Money in the Bank, world title reigns. Maybe Punk should take a look at himself, stop blaming others, and maybe Punk needs to realise he's not as good as what he thinks he is. Triple H talks about Cena's rise in WWE and how he won the fans over without complaining every week. Today the fans are cheering for Punk. Last year they didn't care so much, and next year they may not care so much. Punk tells Hunter to listen to the fans, and Triple H congratulates Punk for his sacrifices over the last 6 years, but that's what you do, you bust your ass week after week. Hunter realizes that he and Punk are going round in circles, so he says that's all the business talk over. The issue between Punk and Hunter is personal because Punk made it personal. Punk isn't fighting the COO, he isn't going to fight the game, he's going to fight a man who Punk insulted, and Hunter's going to kick Punk's ass. Punk thinks otherwise. Punk's the best in the world. Punk says this is Phil Brooks talking to Paul Levesque, and just when things were getting interesting, the mic gets cut off. Hunter gets Punk another mic. He tells Punk to lay the pipe bomb on him, so Punk does just that by whacking Triple H with the mic before leaving the ring. Our video ends then at Night of Champions. The show's headlined by Triple H vs CM Punk, and as mentioned earlier, a lot of fans weren't too happy about the booking decision. Even today, people are still annoyed about it. I posted a short clip on Twitter featuring a CM Punk and Triple H promo, and a few comments were unsavoury, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't expecting it. Both Hunter and CM Punk are polarising characters. You either love them or you hate them. Put both guys together and you get a little mini meltdown online, and the same was true back in 2011. Anyway, the match outcome also pissed fans off, and people don't ever talk about the match itself, they talk about how it ended. And that's a shame, because CM Punk vs Triple H at Night of Champions was pretty good until all the interference started. CM Punk launches an attack right after Triple H spits his water and the fight's on. Hunter gets thrown over the barrier, but he comes back with a ton of right hands before returning the favour to Punk. Punk gets launched over the commentary table and Triple H sets up a pedigree, but Punk counters with a GTS attempt. Punk can't pull off his finisher, so he rushes back into the ring and he challenges the game to step inside. Hunter stares at Punk before slowly making his way into the squared circle, and then the two start throwing punches at each other. Punk gets the better of Hunter, but Hunter quickly turns it around and Punk has to counter another pedigree attempt. Punk drives his shoulder into Triple H's midsection, but a failed corner knee strike sends Punk back out of the ring. Hunter then targets Punk's left knee by ramming it into the ring post. Punk does manage to throw Triple H into the barricade, and Hunter takes a knee to the jaw, but it isn't enough to slow down the cerebral assassin. The fight goes into the audience, where Hunter reminds Punk about what he said about Stephanie, and the Second City Saint gets annihilated. The two walk towards the entrance stage, where Punk uses a trash can to slow Triple H down, and Triple H then crashes through a barrier. On the entranceway, Hunter takes a few strikes, but he comes back with a catapult that sends Punk into the LED board. Punk counters a third pedigree attempt by sending Hunter over that same LED board. Punk's now in full control, and Hunter takes more punishment around the entranceway, and Punk keeps the pressure on as the two make their way back down to the ring. So far, this one's been nothing but a pure and simple fight. Back in the ring, Hunter takes a chair shot and Punk tells Hunter to suck it afterwards. The chair gets wedged in the corner, but Punk takes too long and Hunter performs a spine buster. CM Punk then gets thrown into that chair and Punk takes a great bump here, and Hunter focuses on the leg and knee again on the outside with a chop block followed by a chair shot. Punk fights back though, and he manages to get Hunter on the commentary table, and then Punk performs an elbow drop from the top turnbuckle through the table that makes the crowd go crazy. The match then goes to shit due to interference. The Miz and R-Truth run down and both competitors get attacked. The commentators have no idea why this is happening, but it looks like Miz and Truth want Triple H to lose his job. They drag Punk on top of Hunter, and when Hunter kicks out, the referee gets attacked. Johnny Ace then comes down with another referee as Punk and Hunter take care of Miz and Truth. Hunter hits the pedigree on Punk, and John Laurinaitis stops the referee from getting into the ring. Hunter wants to know what the hell's going on, but he walks straight into a GTS. When Punk covers Hunter, Truth pulls Punk out of the ring. It makes no fucking sense. Didn't Miz and Truth just want Punk to win a minute ago? Truth takes the GTS, Punk goes for an aerial attack back inside the ropes, but it gets countered with another pedigree. The ref begins his count, but CM Punk kicks out. The crowd lose their minds here, and it looks like Punk just might win this one. Johnny Ace then pulls out his phone and he sends a text message. Here comes Big Sexy, and we have no idea who Kevin's gonna attack. Nash decides to go after Triple H, and CM Punk ends up going after Nash, and this leads to Punk getting jackknifed. On the outside of the ring, Nash plans on jackknifing Hunter through a table, but he gets smacked in the head with a sledgehammer, and Hunter makes it back in the ring where he hits the final pedigree of the match, and Triple H wins via pinfall. Triple H is still WWE COO, and the white-hot CM Punk just took a pinfall loss on pay-per-view. The Night of Champions match had a decent amount of heat once things got underway, but the interference killed things pretty quickly. If you're a hardcore CM Punk guy and Triple H's victory on this show annoys you, just remember it took 3 guys, 2 referees, and John Laurinaitis' interference to bring an end to the bout. Absolutely nothing was settled from a who's the best standpoint, but I do agree that the match shouldn't have happened in the first place. From a young rebel versus corporate suit standpoint, it did work and it did feel like a natural feud. But as the newly crowned poster boy of the WWE, Punk really should have been having matches with other more fresh talent, and the Triple H match could have been put on the back burner if the WWE were so hell-bent on booking the match in the first place. The entire story arc doesn't end here though, and I'll upload the final part soon. This all leads back to Triple H versus Kevin Nash while CM Punk moves on to something else, but Punk does play a role in how things turn out. We'll pick this up from the Raw after Night of Champions, so I hope you join me again so we can put a bow on all this. Thanks for watching guys, and take care.
Tell me who and what to be. Not trying to be like everybody. Time to play make believe. 'Cause I'm the Yo, don't keep your finger on the switch. Sometime. Follow me like a blind nigga blind. You don't know what trouble is. Lifetime.
Let the music keep playing.